without sports, I would have never gotten the opportunity. Without the discipline, without the teamwork, without the communication, without leading by example, without putting in 20 hours, without working on the weekends, you don't have opportunities like this. This is the moment where I had this click where it's traditional medicine is there to treat you once you're ill, but it's not there to optimize you before you become ill. So I didn't want to be reactive once I'm already there. I want to be proactive in terms of when should I get better. Men don't want to know what's wrong with them today. Women are very, yeah, let's do it now. No, tomorrow morning. No, I want to do, men are dude, no, I don't want to know the shit that I have. I want to figure out first, I want to put myself in a position so I can look myself in the mirror and then they do this. So it's about the difference between personalization and non-personalization. People think I'm doing something good for my health and they're really happy about it. They don't want to hear that the multivitamin that they take is not enough for them. They just don't want to hear that. 70% of your health is nutrition. Then it's sleep and activity. And then only then it's supplement, mental well-being, all the other things.
Let's flat out. Big teams, big boys, eh?
My highs and lows, inherit growth, Mr. Deeds. Went from juggling 3 jobs to CEO like I'm Steve. Never been a rotten apple, call me John Appleseed. That's how I bleed. God can see, no other man can judge me. Call him Mike, Mr. International, getting cream. Single mother told me worth, and now I'm worth everything. Went from Wall Street to Abu Dhabi, straight rolling in a Maserati with women that feel exotic. My life too prestige.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement.
What's going on, man?
Flat out.
Welcome back to the Last Flat Out podcast. We're your hosts, Mike and Jay. Hit that like button, hit that share button, and give us a follow across all of our social media channels where we could be found at Last Flat Out Podcast. I'm your host, Jay. You can find me at JLubriel26 across all of my social media platforms, and you can follow Mike at
If Mike Was Here. So welcome back. It's a pleasure for me to introduce Vadim Fedotov. He's a former professional athlete, corporate leader, as well as the current founder and CEO of Bioniq, which is a global tech and health optimization platform used by world-class athletes and to your everyday weekend warrior. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
So we usually start the episode, we have a word association. So I'm gonna just throw something at you and then, just give me your take on it. So we're gonna do optimization.
Optimization is part of my ethos because optimization is something that I believe never stops. Everything around you changes, innovation changes, your lifestyle habit change. And the things that can make you a better person in all senses, cognitive, physical, mental, is just something that's everlasting and is something that I take very, very close to my heart.
It's pretty good response, and there's no surprise as to why you're here today because you've optimized every single one of your opportunities. So where we start the show off, just so that the audience can sort of appreciate the person that's in front of us, but I think in order to do that, we have to start from the beginning. So you were born in St. Petersburg, Russia. You've lived all across the world, but before we take everybody through the journey as to where you are currently, how about you take us back before the wellness empire, before the tech, before the Groupon CEO? Where was young Vadim in St. Petersburg?
So young Vadim was born in 1985, so I'm 40 years old. I was born in St. Petersburg. My parents were very young, 18, 19 years old. My dad was a professional tennis player. He's the number 1 tennis player in Russia. So I kind of grew up all around the sports scene. So obviously the competitive spirits are flying very high in our family. I was around athletes all my whole life. When I was 6, we moved to Germany. And I started playing every single sport that has a ball in it. And I trying to figure out where's my passion, what I'm to do. And then 92 happened, Dream Team, Barcelona, and I think the whole world, including Europe, just changed, and that orange ball just became a huge passion of mine.
Who was your favorite player? Yes.
Hakeem Olajuwon. So I couldn't be the Michael Jordan fan because Michael Jordan was just too obvious.
Yeah.
Hakeem the Dream was just the guy. Plus, obviously, 94, 95, they won the 2 championships back to back when Mike had to break.
Don't remind me of that because I'm a Knicks fan.
So Game 7, Starks.
Exactly, yeah.
Choke.
Yes. New York was about to come down on him for sure.
Yeah. All right, so you're in love with basketball. How tall were you? Because you're 6'9".
Yeah.
How tall were you at that point where it's like, okay, basketball, I could pretty much dominate, you know?
No, first of all, I was never the guy that dominates. I was 6'6" when I was 14, 15. So I was playing youth. So I was playing youth basketball, and I got recruited to play for the German national team.
Okay.
Starting 16, 17. And when I was part of the German national team, we started playing internationally. So I started playing the U.S. national teams. So I think I played a total of 7 games against the U.S. national team. I played against every single NBA player you can imagine. Throughout my career, I played a lot of other international. Sergio Fernandez. I played Marc Gasol probably 4 or 5 times. Back when he was puffy, back when he was in a Memphis Grizzly. Like, remember the guy when he started?
Yeah.
I've never seen somebody so talented and so big at the same time, dude. So no, basketball was incredible. And then obviously I had the opportunity to go either pro in Germany or go stateside and play for D1 university.
Okay.
So at this point, when you're on the national team, is your dreams NBA? Like, is it real?
Okay, so this is the crazy thing is this. I think you get to this point, and I mean, listeners probably don't think this is a surprise. To me, it was a surprise. I was really, really good for Germany. I was like the captain. I was like the MVP of the All-Star game. I was like maybe one of the best year in my class.
Right.
So obviously at that point you're like, sky's the limit. Detlef Schrempf did it. Why can't I do it? Like,
Yeah, right. It's true.
and then you go. So I got recruited by several universities. One of them was the University at Buffalo. So I was like upstate New York, great college town, great university, 27,000 people, huge arena. I'm like, oh, that's a great place. The MAC, they have decent mid-major.
Yeah.
So I'm getting to this decent school, good school. Like in the high days, we were like a top 25 school. In the lower days, we were like around the 50, 75. And I'm coming as the MVP of the All-Star game, as the captain of the national team to university. And the first day in, you realize you're not the best. You're not even the second best. You're maybe number 13 out of 15.
On your team.
On my
Buffalo,
team.
yeah.
You are the number one in a country of 82 million people.
Right.
And you're like number 13 on a mid-major university.
And just to ask you that, what made you realize the sort of like the competitive jump that you had to, the sort of the talent gap between Germany and the U.S.? Like what were some of the differences that you saw like in the U.S. versus?
I mean, first of all, there's maybe 5 people like me in Germany. Right. There was 5 people like this, on two teams we played. Like there was like varsity players or football players on the team that were like physically as the same size as me. Like I'm a typical lineman. Like there's nothing special about being big, in the US kind of setting. Secondly, from a skill set perspective, I mean, they could jump out of the gym. I was never very athletic. They could shoot. Everybody had some skill sets. And because they were drilled, and because the competitiveness was so much higher there, you're used to higher competition, and the competition drives obviously improves you.
Yeah.
I never had that. I knew every single good player in the country. I knew when I had to turn it on. I knew when I didn't have to turn it on. So you get there and you just realize, man, my hours of practice were against not the competition they were practicing against. Yeah. And so it took me 2.5 years just to get to that level of competitiveness and then take over.
And then mentally, did you ever like get down on yourself or just charge you up? I mean, it seemed like
no, dude. I was in tears for 3-4 months. I was want to go home. I called my dad. If this is not working out, I want to go back to Germany. Like this could be bullshit. Plus, dude, listen, professional high level sports, it's the most competitive thing there is. You have a locker room of 15 testosterone driven guys who all they want to care about is to take you apart, either because they're dicks or because they're trying to prepare you for the games. But you don't know the difference in the beginning. You just think everybody's a dick to you because why are you so hard on me? And they're like, dude, if this is hard, imagine playing at the Ohio University for the MAC championship, and they're screaming from the stands what they're going to do with your family after the game. You're going to bitch out because somebody said you're a little bit overweight, you can't jump high, you're not running hard enough. No, that they're actually just preparing you for what's going to come when you're going to be in a game situation.
Yeah. This was before they had nil deals for college players, right? So
this is 20 years before.
My man would have been making that German money.
The cool thing. I mean, looking back, I was on the billboards. I was selling the tickets. Like they would use me in ESPN games. You play with yourself, in college.
Yeah.
Like you were like, oh my God, this is amazing, like for free. Yeah. Now you're like, dude, where's the money?
So you were getting paid because you played pro in Germany, right?
But you were getting paid, but not enough for NCAA to consider you a professional, because otherwise you would not be allowed to be there. I was getting offered to play pro even when I was in university. They're like, hey, dude, just drop out, come back, make 6 figures, make decent money, pay no taxes, like do the whole thing. Yeah. And it's very, very tempting. Yeah. It's very, very tempting where you're sitting there, especially like you're 19, 20, and they throw like a couple, 100, 200, 250 at you for a year to do nothing. I mean, in terms of work, but to play ball, right? Yeah. And then you're like, no, I'm going to stay in university to get crushed by, by the teammates, blah, blah, blah. But that's just the journey you want to go through.
Yeah. So in your college career, you suffered a few knee injuries, right? So
I'm more famous for my knee injuries than for anything I ever did on the court. I'm the only player, I think, still till today, and hopefully nobody will break this record because it's. I have 4 torn ACLs. So I came back after 4 torn ACLs, and one of those Hollywood movies is that my dad, who never saw me play professionally, never saw me playing university, only once flew out to the US to saw me play, and that one game that he flew out to saw me play, I tore my ACL the 4th time right in front of him. Literally, he was sitting courtside, 5 meters away from me, and I rip it. I hear the sound because when you tear the ACL, you hear it, and I'm laying there, and he had a flight back the next day, and I was like, I don't want him to get over, emotional. So I'm just like, it's fine. It'll be fine. He's like, yeah. So he flew back. And like a week later, called me. By the way, I tore this. He's like, why didn't you tell me? I'm like, I didn't want you to be, too nervous about that part. But yeah, it was. So ACL is 6 to 9 months recovery. So sometimes I joke I recovered. I did rehab more than I actually played in my career. But the good thing is, A, it got me here because health optimization became a huge aspect of my life. B, I tried every single. So there's 4 kind of surgeries.
Okay.
You can do the patella. You can do the hamstring. You can do a cadaver. And I tried the growth hormone. So I was the first athlete who tried to just put the ACL back together and just inject it with growth hormones.
Okay.
And
the other 3, just to give people who are not familiar, sort of like the patella, the
hamstring is your own. So you take your own hamstring and you just stick it in where the ACL was.
Okay.
Hamstring is good because you remain quite mobile.
Right.
But it tears quicker, which in my case it tore. The patella is great because it's much, much thicker than the ACL. The problem is you lose mobility. So my patella still works.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. The 4th one was a cadaver where they took the patella of a unfortunately dead person, which in my case was a 6'6" tall Dutch motorcyclist who was a organ donor. So they shipped over from the Netherlands his patella to introduce into my leg, and that baby still works.
Oh man!
Yeah. So I've been exposed to every single thing there is in terms of anything knee reconstruction. Yeah.
So you tearing your ACL 4 times, do you think it's something where you weren't getting the proper training like beforehand, or is it genetics, or what do you think?
So there's a couple things. The first time, so there's a million reasons. First of all, somebody as big and heavy as me should not be jumping so much. So I think just, athletes, especially basketball players, are prone to have torn ACLs. I heard a lot of theories. One of them was that your complete health system, your nervous system is combined. I had issue with one of my teeth on the root canal level, and the doctor said that might have caused the ACL or just the ligaments to not be as strong. Like that's the stuff like when you singe, like you can't believe that stuff that they come up with. Looking backwards, man, I think I was just too heavy. And obviously everybody is injury prone. I'm a more injury prone person. And on top of that, I'm a heavier set. And you should probably not be jumping around with that kind of weight. Yeah. So looking backwards, not perfect.
I mean, just to add on to your story, I have a replaced left hip, complete replacement. I'm only 34 years old, so I'm incredibly young for that. But it's also, I used to play college sports. I used to play I used to be pretty athletic when I was younger. And I just think that part of that was I was a little on the heavier side. I was maybe not stretching as much, getting the proper nutrition. Things about health optimization wasn't really spoken about when I was younger, nor did I have the resources to be able to have trainers on me all day, sort of like the top tier athletes. So just to that, there's a million and one reasons as to when you're sitting on the surgery room, like why me, right? This recovery time is so daunting. And I just wanted to ask you, 4 ACL recoveries, 1 is enough to take most people out. 2 would definitely take most of the population, but you tried to come back after 3. What was the mindset? What were you telling yourself at that time?
So the first 2, I was probably too young to realize how important it is. When the 3rd one happened, I knew I was not in the perfect shape. So I knew the reason why it happened was it was my end of my freshman year. I knew I was not in my perfect shape. And so I told to myself, you know what? I want to give this one time a go where I will be in the best shape of my life. So I dropped 40 pounds. I was I was 13% body fat on 310 pounds of weight. So I was a machine. I have pictures I look like a semi bodybuilder, like biceps, the whole thing.
Like the boxer from the Rocky movies.
Yeah. Ivan Drago. Yeah, no. So I wanted. So my sophomore year, going to my sophomore year, I just wanted to be like, I wanted to be a machine. I did 2-a-days. I didn't go on summer break anywhere. I stayed in. I remember I was locked in. I came in, I did my physio, I did my lifting. I stayed in for lunch. I was literally just reading books, and then we ran in the evening. We played 5-on-5 in the evening, and I did that for 3-4 months. I came in the best shape possible, and I played through my sophomore year with no injuries. And then, so I was new. And when the fourth one happened, it was my junior year, and I just didn't want to go out like that. I didn't like. Charles Barkley had this quote where he when he was last Houston Rockets, he was like, I just wanted to walk off the court on my own feet. I didn't want to be carried out on a stretcher. So I was like, I kind of see that. Yeah. So I just want to walk off the court by myself. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So at some point, so after these injuries, and you probably just playing with the with Buffalo, and you realizing you're not the top talent there. NBA's out, right? So you're focusing on academics. You get into your corporate career, and you're one of the youngest CEOs, for a publicly traded company. Yeah. What's that like? You were 26 and you're a CEO.
So the problem is when people read that, they either think nepotism or they think that I got lucky and all that kind of stuff. And I probably got lucky. What people don't realize is when I graduated at 24, I sent out my resume to like 60, 70 companies, and every single company declined. Nobody wanted to even interview me. So it's not like that I was like this. I mean, I wasn't a dean's list. I had all that stuff. But nobody was waiting for me to join the corporate workforce. So there was a lot of things that happened in those 2 years from graduation till becoming CEO at 26, where I just got a lucky turn. I was in the right place at the right time. Yeah. And the way it worked out was I graduate. I can't find a full-time job. I decide to go to University of Miami for an MBA. Okay. University of Miami tells me because I have already undergrad for business administration, I can skip the first semester. So I have 6 months time to do whatever I want to do. So when I started to apply not for a full-time job but for an internship, I became very, very popular because companies love hiring cheap workforce. Of course. So a German management company is like offering me a 3-month internship. So I fly into Munich. I started September 1st. September 2nd, they're like, hey, dude, we have this project in Moscow in Russia. You'd be perfect for it. So I fly out to this project. I work on the project for 3 months. I get along very, very well with the local partner. I get along very well with the client. And after 3 months, I fly back to the US. And I'm on my way from New York to Miami, driving down and get a phone call from the Manchester company saying, hey, the client loved your work on the project so much that they want to prolong the project and expand it. But because the project's so big now, we need to open up an office in Moscow, and we'd like for you to head the office. So I'm like 24 in my car driving to Miami.
Deposit's already paid.
Yeah, the whole thing. And they're like, and I'm like, whoa, that was unexpected. He's like, well, give it a thought, let us know. So I'm giving it a thought. I'm like, you know what? What's the worst thing can happen? I'm like, let me just ask for some stuff that is a little bit ridiculous and out of range. Maybe they'll agree to it. So I call back and I asked for like maybe a 5th-year salary. Okay. And then I'm asking on top of that, one thing they did with me, which is I find kind of ridiculous. Because I was an intern, the client was at a factory, and the factory was in the outskirts of Moscow. And what they did was, because they didn't want to pay the hotel for me because I'm an intern, they would rent me like a 1-bedroom apartment across the factory. But the management consultants guys, would live at the Ritz-Carlton in a 5-star downtown.
In Moscow.
With the whole thing. So, and I remember they would pay me back then $500. And I would drive on Wednesdays down to them to have dinner with them, and they would drink wine bottles for $500 plus. And I'm like, guys, they're like, yeah. We're like, no, this is my salary. You're sitting here. So one of the things when I came back to them for the job offer, I said, I want that salary, I want that compensation, and I want 3 months paid at the Ritz-Carlton.
Oh man,
all inclusive. Okay. And they agreed to that.
Did you think when you called, you were like, they're not gonna accept this?
I was pushing, but I was not. I mean, I didn't ask for stupid money. I was still I knew plus minus what I can ask for. Okay. The Ritz-Carlton was just one of the things I just had to close that thing. They were just saying
that chip. He's like, I want to be there too.
No, I was just like, come on, guys. Yeah, so that was a good time.
And that's what people don't realize. Just to sort of, first of all, congratulations on that. Sometimes closed mouths don't get fed. Right? So you got to ask for. You never know what you might get. But also, people only see the end result and not sort of the failures.
They never see the failures.
Right? They never see the failures, right? Like in terms of when you're building anything, how many Mike, how many times have we reached out to people and they say no, they've stood us up, they've ghosted. They don't see what it takes to get someone like you on the platform, right? They just think, oh, you got lucky, you probably met them, whatever it is. But it takes times to cultivate relationships sometimes, or just to be in the right place at the right time. You never know, right? 100%. And you're never going to be right place at the right time sitting on your couch, not 100%. Picking up a phone call, not answering a phone call. So
you gotta get out there.
So you're like, scrap the NBA.
Yes.
We're going to Russia now. Ritz-Carlton, lit. Yeah. What goes on there? Like, what's...
You arrived there, and this is 2011. It's really popping back then. I mean, there was like the everybody was high spirit. Everybody's investing. Everybody's trying to do things. And again, it's a huge economy. There's 130 million people there. A lot of influx of Western money because the people there are starving for innovation. They're very open to new things. Yeah. So I worked at a managed consulting company, and then there's this company in 2011. People might maybe remember it, called Groupon, and Groupon blew up because it was the fastest growing company in the world. It was on the cover of Forbes that year. No company ever went from $0 to $1 billion in revenue quicker than Groupon. And they hired me in 2011 to run Eastern Europe for them. So I become part of the team.
How did that trend? Did they poach you?
They approached me. So the way it works was Groupon was initially only selling services, and then they wanted to start selling physical goods. And because my management consultants company that I worked at was in the sector of supply chain management, they looked for somebody who knows how to supply chain the goods into the market to be able to sell them.
Yeah, from the factory to the end user. So you were that perfect guy.
I was the perfect. So I came in to head the Groupon goods part. Did a decent enough job. So for 3 months later, after they hired me, they came back to me like, "Hey, dude, we kind of see this going in a broader, bigger direction." And the head of Europe flew in and said, "We would like to offer you the CEO role for the region."
Nice.
And he said one thing. Again, I'm still in touch with him. He's now one of the top guys at Delivery Hero. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar company. Yeah. He said to me, "Listen, when I close my eyes and I think about who should represent the market and represent the teams, I see somebody like you, and I don't care about your age. But," he said, because we're a public traded company, people are freaking out when a 26-year-old is being appointed CEO. So I can't appoint you myself. I showed you to our CFO in the Chicago headquarters. And after the guy looked at your LinkedIn page, he called me back and said, 'Are you crazy? This guy can barely walk.'"
Yeah.
And he's like, "So what we're doing?" He's like, "Well, he's going to fly in. He's going to meet you for 3 days. And then he'll make a decision afterwards." So I remember this guy flying in. We meeting him. We're having these conversations. And at the first dinner, so I played in for Buffalo, the Mid-American Conference, right? The MAC.
Okay.
And at the first dinner, he went to the Miami of Ohio University, which is also the MAC University. So I kind of got his background. We kind of got along. We spoke the same language. Yeah. And he kind of got a little bit of vibe with me. Like, I'm not just this random 26-year-old. I have, like, he's like, "Okay, I get your background. I understand the educational part. I understand where you're coming from." So he got a little bit of comfort.
Right.
And he's like, "You know what? Let's do this. Let's risk it." And we did it for 5 years. We turned this thing around. We went up to 42 offices. I had 3,000 employees, $700 million in revenue, one of the largest markets. And then 2013, 14, they called and they're like, "Dude, we're not going for growth anymore. We need to freaking make this thing profitable. And you have 3 months to make it profitable." And I'm like, that was one of the most interesting things when you publicly traded.
Yeah.
And the shareholder sentiment comes back to you and you have to adjust and pivot from growth to profitability.
All those earning calls you have to do every quarter, the annual statements at the end of the year. This is my lane. This is what so I know this. But like, going back to the marketing portion, I just think, just to give people a little context, like, in sort of like public companies have to, like, you know, they're going to announce you as the new CEO of the Eastern Europe. Yeah. They have this public statement. Shareholders are going to be calling like, who is this kid? Like, what are you talking about? We're tanking the company on purpose. So what made you, I sort of like all the, like, is there anything from your college days, you playing professionally in Germany, or like about to play at a high level in college in Germany, that helped you prepare yourself for this sort of corporate
100%.
role?
I mean, first of all, there's a couple of things there. Without sports, I would have never gotten the opportunity. Without the discipline, without the teamwork, without the communication, without leading by example, without putting in 20 hours, without working on the weekends, you don't have opportunities like this. People knew that nobody will ever outwork me. We had shareholders flying in, at 6:30, come to the office 6:45 a.m. Our work day starts at 9:30. I was sitting there. I didn't even know they were coming in. I was there just because I wanted to be there. Right. I was there on the weekends. Nobody ever claimed that I got anything for free. So the athletic aspect and the discipline, they knew I put that in. In terms of the way you present yourself, I mean, I've been in the public eye for 4 or 5 years. I've done interviews. I've been on TV. I know how to speak to the press. I know how to act. I know how to behave myself. One of the favorite sayings from one of the coaches, like, don't do anything you don't want to read about yourself next day in the newspaper.
That's true.
So I was like, okay, I kind of get that part. So sports, and obviously public sports and high-level sports, completely prepared me for that in terms of how to act and behave and how to act on camera or for the press. It didn't prepare me, how to read P&Ls and how to, set up,
That's why you skipped your MBA class.
Yeah. So, and I wouldn't change a single thing because, real world experience is so much more valuable than anything you can ever learn in academia.
Yeah.
I think the academia part is very, very valuable in terms of network building and growth,
right.
But it's not from a day to day. The most things that I've actually applied in my real world was something that I taught myself.
Yeah. So now I would say, how do you go from CEO to now you're like, let me do my own thing. I'm ready to build Bioniq. And how does the birth of Bioniq begin?
And just to add on to that too, Groupon IPOs, you're probably at the top of your professional career at this point. For you to leave that to go start up your own thing, I need you to bridge that for a lot of people.
So sure. So that thing is, it's called the golden cage syndrome, where you make so much money, it's almost impossible to break out, but you don't make enough money to never think about anything else again. So it's like, you want to create value, right? So the reason where you sit there, so I was 26. By 32, I was thinking to myself, dude, I put so much effort in to create value for somebody else. I actually want to create value for something that I stand for. And, marketing and coupons is great, but I don't wake up thinking of coupons. Like, what is the things that I'm passionate about? The things I'm passionate about is education and health. That's the two things I can talk about. I'll do it for free. You don't have to ever tell me. We can talk about health and wellness right now for hours. I'm not going to charge you. I don't expect anything. I'm going to get something out of it because I'm just so passionate about it. Yeah. So I knew there's something in me that wants to create value. I knew that I absorbed everything I could from that role. And then it's just the idea is like, okay, what are you going to build? And what you're going to build is, there's several aspects. One of them is, it's called Better Mousetrap. You find a product that you think you can do better. And one of them is called 0 to 1. And the 0 to 1 is you want to create something that doesn't exist. Yeah. And I didn't know what I'm looking for because, again, I know my passions, but I was not in the space. So one thing that happened to me when I was 32 was, although I was a former athlete, although I had the resource, although I had, it's called free capital to invest into myself, I felt that physically and cognitively I was not up to my standards. I was probably 30, 40 pounds overweight. I was probably lethargic. I had brain fog. I didn't have the energy levels. I had all those symptoms that you wouldn't expect for a 30-something-year-old to have, having the background that I have and having research that I have. So I started digging in, trying to figure out more about my health, start talking to doctors. And one of the doctors that I've seen that was very highly recommended, I spoke to him, had a consultation with him, and he told me, I understand all your symptoms. I know exactly what to do. This is what we need to do. You'll do this extensive blood test, can cost $1,000, $1,000. We'll come back in a week and I'll tell you what the protocol is, how to improve yourself. I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. So I go for a week. I wait for a week. I'm like, it's gonna be the holy grail moment. I come back to this doctor. I walk into his office. He sits across from me. I look at him. I'm like, dude, tell me. So he prints out the results. I can tell he's never looked at his paper before I walk through this thing. He looks at this thing for like 10 seconds, up and down, and is like, yeah, you're okay. I'm like, what do you mean?
Oh my God.
Yeah, you're not ill. I'm like, what do you mean I'm not ill? He's like, yeah, there's no parameters that really require pharmaceutical help right now. I'm like, okay, well, what about my symptoms? He's like, listen, if there would be anything here, I would prescribe you something, but there's nothing I can prescribe you here. Like, I'm like, and this is the moment where like I had this click where it's like, traditional medicine is there to treat you once you're ill, but it's not there to optimize you before you become ill. So I didn't want to be reactive once I already there. I want to be proactive in terms of I want to try to get better. But it's also not about longevity. Longevity is like, okay, I want to have increased my health span, my lifespan. I want to optimize myself today. So I walked out of the office thinking, maybe this is a bad doctor. So I started speaking to other doctors. Maybe I shouldn't talk to traditional medicine. So I started in professional clubs. Maybe it's not professional clubs. Maybe somebody in the Silicon Valley really works on that. And after going through that for 6, 8, 9 months, I realized nobody is focused on optimization in a way that it would be applicable to me. And the thing that's applicable to me is I want diagnostics and the solution to work together, which this is wrong with you. This is what your body needs today.
So how did you know who to outreach? Because you're still in the searching phase of what is it that you knew what you were passionate about, but the actual solution you were looking for. How did you go from a broad-based sort of like idea to sort of narrowing it down? Because it seems like you didn't even know what you were looking for in the beginning, right? So who did you know who to reach out to, and sort of like, who did you know who you reach out to?
So the way you start is because you do it from your own point of view, right? So first of all, okay, this doctor is wrong. Let's speak to another doctor. So you start talking to different doctors. Then you're like, maybe all the doctors are not the ones that I'm looking for. So you go back to your network of sports teams. So I started speaking to professional teams, to universities. I'm like, what do you do when you acquire a player? They're like, we do the body scans, we do the tests. I'm like, what do you do afterwards? Like, what do you mean afterwards? I'm like, well, what do you do going forward? They're like, we don't. I'm like, you don't track. This is 2017, 18. We don't track them going forward. They're like, no. When we purchase them or acquire them, we'll make sure they're healthy, but we don't track them ongoingly. I'm like, that is weird. Yeah. Then you go look at Silicon Valley. So again, I'm looking like maybe somebody's out there already doing so. There was 23andMe. DNA testing, which now just recently closed
bankruptcy.
But back then they were the hate. I was like, this is very interesting. The problem with DNA is it's chronic. DNA doesn't change over time. So DNA can tell you what's wrong with you, but DNA cannot tell you how you can improve what's wrong with you on an everyday basis. Yeah. Then there was companies like Take Care Of, which bought by Bayer. Funny enough, also closed down. They would put supplements in a bag and tell you it's personalized. Well, I was like, what's personalized about it? Just the bag. So they put something, like you go to Walgreens or they go to GNC, buy regular supplements and put them in a bag and tell you this is personalized. So I'm like,
all they do is personalize the combination.
Yeah, it's packaging. I call them a packaging company. And then there's a company that did at-home blood tests. And I was like, oh my God, it's really interesting. I'm like, what do you do with the data? They're like, we tell you what's wrong with you. I'm like, and? Like, no and. I'm like, so there's companies that tell you more about yourself. There's companies that produce personalized products that are really personalized, and there's companies that do regular analytical data, but nobody ever combined those three things. Yeah. And that's when the next step happens. So I'm like, okay, I think I understand the direction, but again, I have no medical background. And then I got fortunate enough through the network to speak to a neuroscientist out of Switzerland who did clinical trials with Olympic athletes. So between 2011 and 2017, he did 954 Olympic athletes. Wow. And he did blood tests with them, and he was able to prove that if you optimize micronutrients, so micronutrients is vitamins and microelements. If you optimize micronutrient levels in athletes, they are 10 days per year less sick. Because they're 10 days per year less sick, they can work out better, recover better. They achieve 6.9% higher performance tests, physical performance tests on standardized tests, and up to 150% higher cognitive tests. So their brain works faster and they make less mistakes, memory mistakes. And I'm like, how can this be? They're like, when the body's optimized, it doesn't have to focus on fighting deficiencies. It can actually focus on growing and becoming better. And I'm like, this is incredible, because 7% for an Olympic athletes are 25-year-old ripped guys and girls who are at the peak of their health. Yep. If you can improve them by 7%, I'm like, what can you do with regular people? He's like, 35, 50%. God. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is incredible. So can I try it out? It's like, yeah. So I tried it out on myself for 6 months. I found out what was wrong with me. Okay. I had a Gilbert defect on a DNA level. My liver function was not working properly. The reason for that is because my portion size was too big. I needed to eat more meals with a smaller portion size instead of large, big ones. I optimized my micronutrient levels. I got out of my symptoms. I'm like, this is incredible. So what do you do then? And I still have my day job. So I'm like, okay, let me do a pilot. So I recruited 40 people, which were close enough to me, but not buddies. So I recruited former employees or friends of friends.
40?
40.
You were expecting that. You had them on ND. How the hell did you
do this? 40. Funny enough, so 40 I did that. And this is a little bit what I tell people, founders are. Get your product or your hypothesis out there as quickly as possible. Don't be in the garage for 3 years or working on software without giving it to the market. You need a market response as quickly as possible. So what I did was I gave it to 40 people. They took it for 2 months. After 2 months, I called them back. I'm like, would you like to continue? And of course, majority said yes. But then I added one little thing. You have to pay. And
a subscription based.
No, I just wanted to see how many of the 40 people would actually pay. Everybody's like, yeah, I love your product. I'm like, okay, dude, pay me $200. I don't love it that much. Right. But interestingly enough, people loved it. And one of the people who loved it was head of performance for the UFC out of Nevada.
Okay.
So he continued on, gives me a phone call and says, this is November 2018. He's like, why don't you fly out to Las Vegas and meet the senior vice president of the UFC at their performance center? He would like to talk to you. So I fly out, meet with the guy, and in the room the guy says, I've never seen a product like this before. And you're just this guy, this non-medical guy, who stumbled upon something, and you're like, what I just created, the UFC, who has access to anything and everyone, who is next to us like 2 hours away from San Francisco by plane, right? So they have access to everything, has never seen a product like us before, like never seen something like this before. So I quit my day job and launched Bioniq in 2019 in London.
Was that the first win that you, in your mind, you were like, all right, I got something now?
That was it. That was the thing that I needed. That was the rectification, confirmation of what I'm doing is actually special. It's not special because my friends think it's special. It's special because the market, the world think it might be something.
Got it. So you quit your day job, which again this was probably like a big shift for you, right? Going from something like the golden handcuffs to like being
you go from paychecks and paid vacations to payroll that you need to cover out of your own pocket to never seeing income again until 6, 7, 8, 9 years later when you actually make it big.
Yeah. All right. So you quit your day job and you get your verification, you get your validation that you need. After that meeting from the UFC, what were the next steps there?
You set up the company, you start rolling out the product, and the number one goal is how can you make it more scalable? Because again, initially is, does the product work, yes or no? So the product works. Do enough people care about it? So what's the total addressable market, TAM? Yes, people care. There's $252 billion a year are being spent on supplements. So I knew the supplement market is big enough. 70% of all Americans take supplements regularly. So it's part of your daily routine. So you have a product that works, you have a total addressable market that's big enough. Now, how can you scale it? And this was our biggest problem. For the first 5 years, we couldn't figure out how to scale our product. We couldn't find the product market fit.
That's usually the biggest problem for a lot of businesses.
And that's where, listen, 95% of startups fail. Yeah. I invested as an angel investor. I invested as an LP in startups. Again, on my watch, every single investment that I invested did not make it as an angel. And it's like, and I'm not even mad at the founder. I'm like, dude, I know how hard it is. I mean, we were on the brink probably 3 times of not making it. I'm sitting here. If you would have, I spoke 2.5 years ago, I've been like, dude, I'm not sure I'm the right guest for you. Like, unless you want to talk about failures. So it's like one of those things where it's like, as a startup, it's up and down, it's an up and down, it's an up and down. So the scalability as product market fit was the hardest part. So we went from 1 country to 12 countries in 5 years, which read very well, was great publicly received, but internally we knew it's not really scaling, it's not really there yet. But the product was the best in the market. And then finally we broke through, this is a year and a half ago, where we accumulated enough biochemical data that because of the language models, that the large language models that are out there, we were able to start predicting your biochemical data without you doing a blood test at all. So now if he does a blood test and fills in a questionnaire and you do only the questionnaire, both of you can receive a personalized product. His will be 100% accurate, you will be 82% accurate. But this accuracy of 82% is still so much better than anything else in the market that this became our rising star product. And this took us, we grew, I think, 8x last year. Wow. Over 85% of our customer base now in the US. Mm-hmm. And some of the world's most famous people have been using us for years who now are coming public about it, that they're users. And as you probably read or know, not just users, they also became shareholders and investors in the business.
Well, congratulations on that. Now, it seems like the differentiator was the blood test.
Yes.
Is it because people didn't like doing blood tests? What did you find in your research? Like, people didn't like doing the blood test was too expensive. You could, like, blood tests around the world are done differently.
Yes.
So what was
so actually the blood tests that being differently done around the world became one of our USPs, because you're completely right. Every laboratory is different, even in the same country. So we created we have 2 patent pending systems. One of them is actually to be able to compare blood tests from different regions, different laboratories, apples to apples.
Yeah.
So that's one of the uniquenesses that we had. The problem is nobody loves blood tests. Nobody wakes up and thinks, I can't wait for my next blood test. They're very, very expensive. And thirdly, psychologically, especially with men, if I tell Mike right now, hey, let's do a blood test tomorrow, Mike will be like, yeah, give me a week to, I'll clean up my liver, I'll stop drinking for a bit, I'll lose a little bit of weight, I'll make sure I cut on my diet, I'll work out a little bit more. Men don't want to know what's wrong with them today.
Right.
Women are yeah, let's do it now. Like, no, we could tomorrow morning. No, I want to do, like, men are like, dude, no, I don't want to know the shit that I have. I want to figure out first, like, I want to put myself in a position so I can look myself in the mirror and then I do the blood test. So it's a very invasive procedure for certain human beings, because they don't want to know what's internally. Guys are like, I'll figure it out once I'm there. Women are very, very proactive. So there's a lot of hindrances. It's the cost, it's the I mean, there's a lot of people who have a phobia of needles. So there's a lot of that. But then, of course, also timing wise, you buy it today, you do a blood test tomorrow, you wait for the results for a week, you do the whole thing. So it's it's a process.
It's a process.
It's a commitment, it's an investment. And most people live in a world like, oh, I want to improve my health today, I want something today.
You know, world-class athletes now publicly came out and they use your product. One of them is Cristiano Ronaldo. How does
the athlete.
Yeah, the athlete of the world. How does that come about? Did you know him personally? Or
No. So Cristiano has been using product for 4 years now. So he started. So there's a player who also is now a shareholder and investor, Diogo Dalot, who plays for the Portuguese national team. He was playing for Manchester United, still playing for Manchester United. He was Player of the Year last year. So in 2022, Cristiano, when he went back to Manchester United, was in the locker room sitting next to Diogo. And Diogo would every day after workout drink Bioniq. So Cristiano's like, what is that? So Diogo told him about it. And he's like, let me take a look at this. So his medical team reached out to us 4 years ago and started talking about it, what it is, how we're doing it. Is it WADA approved? Because we're WADA approved, a lot of athletes are using it, how we can integrate in his daily routine. And we onboarded him. So we onboarded him, and I knew, of course, of it, but we had to keep it anonymized, quiet about it. We couldn't make anything. I mean, it was such a top secret organization. We couldn't even put his name on the product, because normally people put the names on the product because we didn't want anybody to know whose product it is. So he started that, and he continues. So 3 months later, he continues, does another blood test. He gets a new formula. He continues. And over the years, he just saw how we work, and he saw the efficacy, and he saw the results of the product. So end of 2023, I get a phone call, and it's the person who oversees Cristiano's investments telling me that he would be interested in investing in the company because he believes in the vision and the mission, and he wants to be part of the future growth of the business. And you're just sitting there, you're like, because you were waiting for the call somewhere deep down, but you never wanted to approach it. You never want to. You don't want to. You want to overstep. I mean, I provide you a service. I always make this example, like, if somebody comes to my restaurant and enjoys the food, I'm not going to come over. You like the food? Yeah. You want to invest? like you want to you want the person to enjoy the food and enjoy the moment. So I was like, we were just happy that he's using it. So when that came about, and it was like, literally, listen, Cristiano, everybody knows. I mean, Google had this, when Google turned 25, they said the number one search on Google in the history of the company was Cristiano Ronaldo. He's the most searched person in the world. Yeah. He's the biggest celebrity in the world. I mean,
the most Instagram followers in the world.
He has 1 billion followers across all platforms. And they're like, listen, what you don't understand is he only invests in things he believes and uses himself. Right. He gets offers, I mean, weekly of $100 billion companies for free. And he's like, no, guys. I have a certain expectation where I'm part of, and that what made it special for us, because it was just not a financial investment. It was hey, I'm part of the growth. I believe in personalized health. I believe in personalized optimization, as we discussed earlier, and obviously this gives us internally also a huge boost that we're on the right path.
And just to go back to from when he approached you, obviously you asked him what his daily routine was, and at that, this Cristiano's probably at the. I mean, he's obviously not in his prime anymore, but he's still on a human-to-human basis. He's a peak athlete, in shape. Did he come back to you with personal feedback saying, I feel like I am better, like even 2%, 5% better after using your product?
I mean, it's a quantifiable aspect. In our company, we're the only supplement company in the world that has an app, and in the app you can see the biochemical data. So he doesn't have to come and say it, he sees it.
Got it.
He can see every 3 months how the improvements are, what the changes are in those things. The fact that he's been doing it for the 4th year, the fact that he's invested money, I think speaks louder than any subjective or comment that he can give to us. Like, of course he sees it, of course he feels it, of course it's part of his daily routine. You're completely right. He's one of the most dedicated people out there. You will not see a person who's more dedicated to his craft than him. Yeah. And for us to be part of that routine, I mean, that's the sign of quality approval that you're looking for as a business.
So then I would say, what's next for Bioniq now? So just last year, Cristiano Ronaldo. I think this year you have, the guy from Man U.
Yeah, Diogo Dalot.
Yeah, he made it public.
Yes.
So where's Bioniq going now?
So as I said, it's a $250 billion industry, and 99.9% of the things that are being sold right now is generic stuff. So if one of us goes to the store, we're going to pick up a bottle of supplements. You're going to say, take 2 pills. You take 2 pills, I take 2 pills. Grandmother takes 2 pills, a child takes 2 pills. This is not how health works. Health is not one size fits all. What people need to understand is what's being sold in the store, the dosage has to be safe enough for a child to take it and not get sick from it, which means that if you take it, the efficacy of it is probably minimal.
Yeah.
We had 8.1 million people reach out to us last year. We did 237,000 formulas last year. All of those people have been supplementing before they came to us. And in the history of our company, only 2 people had optimized levels of blood tests before coming to us. Only 2. 2 people out of, we're talking about millions now. So whatever you've been doing so far is great for your psychic, and I'm very happy for you that you take the multivitamins, and I'm very happy for you that you feel good about yourself, but your body probably needs something else because it needs probably different dosages, different ingredients, and we see this every day. So what we're trying to do going forward is we're trying to educate further the market. Mm-hmm. We're trying to establish that personalization is key. Not just us, like in general. Forget us for a second. Yeah. Personalization is key. I need 20,000 IUs of vitamin D per day. The global norm is 5,000 IUs. The stuff you buy at the store is 200 IUs. Yeah. Dude, like it does not work. I need 100 times more than the stuff that you buy at the store to make any difference to myself. And that's just health. That's how it works. So we educate the market, we're penetrating the market with personalized solutions, and we want to bite off from the market as much as possible from the generic aspect to really educate and onboard people to personalize their approach to health.
So despite this health optimization message, which again is scientifically proven, backed, has all this data, why? And I've seen the prices that you guys charge. It's not.
It's $75 for Bioniq Go,
exactly,
and $199 for Bioniq Pro. So it's $250 a day for if you look at it on a daily basis,
right?
And on average for Bioniq Pro is around 48 components, and for Go it's around 25 components.
So what I'm saying, like what I'm trying to get at is, why do you think people still don't subscribe to this sort of? Is the message not broad enough? Do you think it's like, man, $200? But if you actually break it down, $200 for what you're doing a month, probably that's doing very minimal optimization for your health versus your company or any other health optimization approach that will actually have real effects. What do you think is the gap?
2 things. One is they don't understand how much more personalization will improve upon. So they think whatever they take now is already good. So they don't think this will make it better. Again, when you do the blood testing, you will see what you're doing right now is not good. It's actually suboptimal. And so there's an aspect there. I don't trust supplements in general, which is not the crowd we actually speak to. Or I know what I'm doing. And the know on what I'm doing crowd is all I'm telling them is I believe you think you know what you're doing. All you have to do is just do one blood test. Use your current protocol of whatever you're taking, do your current blood test, and look at the results. You will realize right away that whatever you've been doing right now, you're most likely underdosing, or in the worst case scenario, overdosing, which is very, very rare, but happens.
Okay.
So it's about the difference between personalization and non-personalization. People think I'm doing something good for my health, and they're really happy about it. They don't want to hear that the multivitamin that they take is not enough for them. They just don't want to hear that.
Man, I know the multivitamin I'm doing is not good enough, because I was just telling you off the record, like I wake up feeling lethargic sometimes, where I'm like, I fell asleep for 8 hours. Why am I not going to sleep straight? Like, why am I not recovering as fast? And I don't eat. I mean, I could probably eat cleaner,
sure,
but like I don't eat terrible.
Sure.
So I'm like, what am I doing? And it has to be, these supplements aren't giving me 100%. What I need, right? I need a company like yours to actually tell me, hey, John, this is what you need personally, versus Mike may need something completely different.
Yeah. I would say, how quick is it for someone to get onboarded? They see this episode and they're like, all right, let me take this into my own hands.
You go to Bioniq Go. You go on Bioniq.com.
Yep.
You go on Bioniq Go. You fill in the questionnaire. The questionnaire will take 5 minutes. We will tailor-made it for you. Every single Bioniq is tailor-made for every single client. And you will ship it to you in 48 to 72 hours, anywhere in the world. Okay. So we had 73 countries last month.
Wow.
So we ship anywhere from Rwanda to Australia to Chile. I mean, US obviously the biggest one. I think US is second day delivery. So you get it the 3 days. After you see this episode, a Bioniq will be on your table 3 days from today.
And then the Pro actually requires the blood test.
So Pro, what you can do is if you have a recent blood test, so a blood test from the last 3 months, you can go to our app and upload the blood test.
Okay.
And based on the uploaded blood test, we will create a Pro for you. If you don't have a blood test, you can either go get one, or you can go to one of our partners in the US. We're working with DHA Lab. We're working with Quest. We're one of our partners, Remedy Place, up here in New York, Social Wellness Club. And I mean, all around the world, we have probably 30 affiliate laboratories you can go to.
Okay.
But again, I always say is like, if you already have one, just upload it. or do one. And again, we will try to make it as personalized as possible. The questionnaire by itself will already allow us to go to over 80% of accuracy, which was the biggest breakthrough for us, to make this more accessible, to make it more available, to make it more of a global company.
Okay.
Yes.
And just to, I guess, you've seen millions upon millions of different data sets. What's like a nightmare routine where you're just like, wow, this person needs a lot of help? Like what are the characteristics of somebody generally in terms of their lifestyle, profession, age, gender, in terms of like, okay, this is a pretty bad situation here?
So again, what's the biggest issues? Women, iron levels. Men, cholesterol levels. So iron levels for women is the energy. So around 84% have really low iron levels, which impacts everything from menstruation to energy levels to the ability to conceive. There's literally everything in that. For men, from a cholesterol level, which means that their diet is just impacting their capabilities. The things that you are mentioning basically means that digestion is off. Yeah. Their body cannot support it. The testosterone production is not there. So there's a lot of stuff that we see. But then also you see things like uric acid. Uric acid from overconsumption of red meat or seafood. Any sort of inflammation in your body, again, anything that your body has to fight will lower its performance, because instead of focusing on performance, it will fight on fighting the deficiencies. Yep. So this is the things that you see. But in terms of, listen, whenever I speak of supplements, vitamin D, I've never seen somebody in optimal vitamin D level without supplementation ever in my life. Anybody who says I get enough vitamin D from the sun, I just never seen it. And I've seen 9 million people. So that's a little bit one of those things where it's like, vitamin D level is important for immunity. Vitamin D level is also important from a hormone balance perspective. So there's a lot of things that come together. But yeah, iron level, cholesterol, vitamin D deficiencies. Vitamin B has a direct impact on your cognitive capability. So when you have a hard time focusing, you have a hard time remembering things, very, 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 very high chance that vitamin B is low.
Okay.
All right. To wrap it up, because we're just at about an hour, we have a question that we have all our guests answer is, what was your last flight out? And the meaning last flight out is, what was that pivotal moment in your life, whether it's early on or whether it's at Bioniq, that you're like, okay, this is what I need to do to get to that next level?
I had this moment where I was flying from the US to London.
Yeah.
On the flight from the US to London, I received a message from the US saying, we need to meet, we need to talk, there's a huge opportunity here. And I'm like, sure, when? Like, tomorrow. And I'm on my way to London. So I land in London. I book a new flight, and I don't even go out of the airport. I fly back to the US.
Wow.
And that turned out to be one of the biggest opportunities we ever had as Bioniq.
Oh,
it actually worked out.
God.
Yes.
It actually worked out.
So thanks for that moment, by the way. That's a crazy that's crazy. No, it was the airport and going back. He's like, I could go buy the Hanes back. I could buy my underwear back in the US. I guess, just from your perspective, just general advice, what would you say is the biggest lifestyle change that a normal human being could do in order to optimize their health, putting aside the supplements?
But first of all, a couple of things. 70% of your health is nutrition. Then it's sleep and activity. And then only then it's supplement, mental well-being, all the other things. So if we're not selling a wonder pill here. If your diet sucks, if your sleep routine sucks, if your activity routine is bad, supplements will not help you. I know so many clients who complain about supplements not working for them. I'm like, so tell me about your routine, tell me about your intake. And all of that stuff is subpar. So that's not his work. What people need to understand is, I believe the thing that is most overlooked is getting to bed before 10:30. The reason for that is circadian rhythm. When the sun goes down and up, your body is not a couple thousand years old, it's 100,000 years old. Circadian rhythm directly impacts your hormones. Your growth hormone is being secreted at around 10:30. If at that moment you are still active, the secretion will be less. Growth hormone is needed for, as we all know, cell production, growth of muscle synthesis. So anything that is metabolism related or just overall healthy cells related happens at night. So if there's one thing I would tell people is, try to get to bed by 10:30 and try to not eat 3 hours before going to bed. And the reason why that is important is because when your insulin level is still high or your digestion is still ongoing while you're in bed, the growth hormone secretion is also not happening. So go to bed by 10:30, try not to eat 3 hours beforehand, your body will thank you.
And for someone who travels a lot, like both of us, I think getting to sleep by 10:30 may be tough. So that's rough. Traveling as much as we do, that's hard. Like in order to get to bed, sometimes demanding careers.
You asked me. You asked me what's the most. That's the most effective one. I mean, I can lie to you, but that's the truth.
Okay, so for those 10:30, don't eat beforehand.
Yeah.
3 hours before. But Vadim, thank you so much for coming on today. Why you don't tell the audience where they can find you? Anything you want to say about Bioniq?
Sure.
And we can just wrap it up.
You can find me on Instagram, Vadim_Bioniq. Website is bioniq.com. And, reach out, say hi, and we'll take it from there.
Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Once again, hit that like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Last Fight Out Podcast. Once again, you can find me at JLubriel26 across all my social media accounts, and you can follow Mike at
If Mike was here. Thank you. Peace.
See everyone next week. Same time, same place.
Thanks, guys.
That's flat out. Big teams, big boys, alright?
My highs and lows, inherit growth, Mr. Deeds. Went from juggling 3 jobs to CEO like I'm Steve. Never been a rotten apple, call me John Appleseed. That's how I bleed. God can see no other man can judge me. Call him Mike, Mr. International, getting cream.